What's going on, guys? Welcome back. My name is Brandon. In last week's episode, I showed you guys how you could take any MIG welder and set it up to weld aluminum. Well, this week we're going to be welding with a spool gun. Stick around. Welcome back, guys. So in last week's episode, I showed you how to take this standard 120 volt welder and set it up so that it can weld aluminum. Not a lot of people are aware that a regular MIG welder is capable of welding aluminum. If you want to know more about it, click on that video. So one way of welding aluminum is how I showed you last week, and that's setting up your machine with a graphene liner and then feeding that aluminum wire through your MIG gun. Because the wire is soft and it has to go through so much of this liner, there can be potential problems for bird nesting inside the machine. Bird's nesting is when the drive rollers are pushing the wire into the liner and it stops inside the liner, but the machine keeps pushing it, and then it just makes a big bird's nest inside here. Then you got to cut the wire, rethread it. It's a problem. One of the advantages of using a spool gun is that you're not pushing it through all this wire. The reel mounts here, and it has a mechanism in here, and it's only pushing it out this far. What that does is it allows you to run the much softer 4043 aluminum wire, which also wets in a little bit better. The 5356, which is what we ran in last week's demonstration, that's a lot stiffer. That's better suited to be able to push through this actual full-length hose and gun. So if I wanted to set up that machine to run a spool gun, you'd have two options for ends. That's what this takes, which is like Miller and Hobart. That's the MIG gun end. Then you have this style, which is European. One of the disadvantages to using a spool gun is, one, that they're bulky. You can see how this is a lot of mass to be getting in the way of a lot of stuff if you're trying to weld, as compared to just this. You're dealing with 1 pound reels as opposed to setting it up in your MIG machine and using like 11 pound reel. You can put out a lot of material and you don't have to worry about changing these rolls all the time. It's a lot cheaper to buy a big reel than it is to buy a bunch of these smaller ones. I just want to talk real quick about each style. That way you guys have kind of like a good clue about what you have to do, because you might have to modify some things to make this work. So here we have, like I said, the European style. All you do is feed this into the machine. That's how it gets its power up to the spool gun. And then you have this piece right here. All this is this is just a trigger. These two right here, these are the trigger connectors. This is what powers up your MIG gun. So this is what completes the connection when you pull the trigger. So there's roughly, on this machine I measured it, about 35 volts DC coming across these pins. The power's coming up. It's coming up to the trigger. When you pull the trigger, the power comes back and goes back into the other side, into the machine, completes the circuit, and it engages the drive motor. With a European style, you have this connector here that goes down to this part of the machine. So if you have the European style connector on your machine, to get a spool gun, you need to make sure that you have this provision to get the power up to the spool gun. That's what this switch does right here. This is the torch, that's the spool gun. This style machine is actually fairly easy to convert. So if you bought a spool gun and it had this electrical lead on it, all you'd have to do is make a little adapter plug, or you could actually cut the end off and just put on these ends right here. So that's how that would work for this setup. So having the spool gun potentially eliminates a lot of the feeding problems that people associate with trying to feeding up your MIG gun. This just avoids all that. So let's get this connected up. So this style also has the gas also that's fed into this. It's not a separate port back to the tank. Now we'll wire up the trigger. Aluminum is welded DC electrode positive, so make sure that the lead is going into positive and that your negative is your working lead going to ground. Now it's time to load up some wire. And again, just for this demonstration, it's Blue Demon 30 thousandths 5356. I clamped it in my vise. That way you could kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm going to take the wire off the reel, I'm going to trim it, then I'm going to feed it inside the drive system. Now this works very much like your drive roll system in your regular MIG gun. You've got a drive roll here, and you've got your liner. There we go. And I'm feeding the wire into the end of it. Close it up, and we got to make sure we set our tensions right as well. And just like with regular MIG, when you're feeding wire, you may have to take your contact tip out. And if you're using 030 wire, put on a 035 contact tip. Go one size bigger. It's going to prevent burn back inside your contact tip. Now we don't have any gas turned on to this yet. This knob right here sets your drive roll tension just like it would for a regular MIG welder. Too little tension and the wire is going to slip and it's going to be sputtery and you're going to have inconsistent welds. Too much tension and not only are you going to start wearing stuff out, but potentially if you have a problem here, like you have some burn back in the tip, it could potentially bird's nest down inside of this and you don't want that. So I'm going to show you how to set your tension on this. It's super easy, especially whereas it's right here on the outside. Again, I have no gas going to this, just so I'm not wasting gas when I'm not using it. So I've got it fairly loose. I'm going to pull the trigger and squeeze the wire. The wire should just be able to push through my fingers. See, you can see it's not spinning because you'd see this reel turning. So I got to go up on tension. There we go. That's it right there. Perfect. That's how you set it up. Use the minimum amount of tension needed just so it slips through your fingers. So now all we got to do is turn on our gas, set up our machine, and start welding. Make sure you brush down your aluminum using a dedicated stainless steel brush that's all you use it on. And when you're done, wipe it down with acetone and you'll get this nice gray sheen on your rag. Once you've done that, this is ready to go. Hold about 5/8 of an inch of stick out and we'll tack it up. Now with aluminum, you're going to get sooty welds. That's pretty common. Now again, with aluminum, you use a push angle. The reason for that is you want the gas coverage to spill over the top. If you do a drag angle, you actually can get some pretty crappy welds. So. Alright, let me clean this up real quick and I'll show it to you. There's that, guys. That's no manipulation. That's just me running a bead and just going down it for the length. That's the first bead I've run. You see it looks, I got a little bit of transfer through the back, so you know it's got good coverage in there. Now I'm going to turn up my wire feed speed just a little bit more. See if I can get that to smooth out just a little bit. Let's do 11.5. We'll try that. Keeping the same voltage. You can hear that sound, guys, because we're up in spray transfer mode. And again, this is 1/16 of an inch material we're doing this on. So this is pretty impressive. Alright, same voltage, wire feed speed set at 11.5. I was shaky on that one, guys. I think that ran better, but I was just shaky. I wasn't comfortable. Half the battle of welding aluminum is being comfortable. The first one was better, but this put down the material better, I think. If I was not shaky, this one would have been better. I'm going to throw another pass right on it. Definitely an awesome option if you're looking to do some occasional aluminum MIG welding. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of comments that people say you can't weld aluminum with DC because you need the AC to remove the oxidization layer. Well, you absolutely can. People have been welding with DC MIG for probably going on better than 2 centuries. It's just something that people haven't really talked a lot about and done a lot. So without a doubt, you absolutely can MIG weld aluminum and have it be effective. And I'm sure there's some of you that will say, go out and buy a TIG welder. And if that's what you want to do, be my guest. Go out and buy a TIG welder. Some people just don't have that in their budget, and if they have a welder and they can weld some aluminum occasionally and that works for them and it gets the job done, why not do it? You can pick up a spool gun for probably around 170 bucks. This one here, I believe, is like $199. I think Harbor Freight sells them for like $160 or $170. So they're definitely affordable if you're looking to do it occasionally, and the results are pretty decent. And it puts down the material fast. So if you're looking to get a lot of work done or production work done, this process right here is how production facilities build aluminum trailers. This, because it's fast, it's quick. Although they do use what's called a push-pull mechanism, basically they have a massive reel in the machine like this that pushes it up the liner, and then they have another device in the top of the MIG gun that looks just like this minus the reel, and that just grabs it and pulls it. The two motors sync together and it just puts out a ton of product fast, and that's why it's used. That's why it's used in production welding, because the system works and it works well. So I just wanted to share with you guys a couple options of welding aluminum. I know it gets a lot of interest and a lot of people think that they got to go buy a brand new machine. I'm here to tell you that it's nice to have a dedicated AC TIG machine, but you don't need it. You can get good results using DC MIG, as you can see here. Before we go, guys, I want to talk to you about this welder giveaway. I'm giving away this welder on November 10th. So head on over to my channel, look on the win this thumbnail for that welder and enter in on it. Same thing for this one. We're giving this one away on December 10th. Both of these welders are brand new. I literally opened them up on the channel and I'm giving them away to one lucky winner and another lucky winner. And I've already given away the first welder, and I've been in communication with that person and they absolutely love it. And that's all there is to it, guys. This is just another tool to have in your toolbox, because as I say, knowing these things, knowledge is power. Just like last week's episode, you can go out and spend $25, and if you had a quick repair to do, for $25, you could get it done versus having to buy a whole new machine. Sometimes having what you have and making do with what you got until you can get something better, that's what all of us have to do. It's what I had to do. It's how I started out. I didn't have the best of the best stuff when I started out. I had pretty junky stuff and I worked my way up. And knowing these little tips and tricks helps to build you up so that you can become more knowledgeable in your profession or your hobby. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. If this is something that you like, please don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. There's new videos every week. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and until next Friday, I will see you guys then. Make sure you get on these giveaways. The time's starting to run out real quick. I'll be announcing one in November 10th and December 10th. Till next week, guys, I will see you then. Take care, stay safe, see ya.